Hello, welcome back to the latest We Are Sunderland briefing with myself, Dom Sean, Scott Wilson, both from the Northern Echo, and We Are Sunderland. Thanks as ever to our partners, who you can see at the bottom there. If you're watching on YouTube, the Fans Museum, Cospex Opticians. If you are watching on YouTube, then just tap subscribe. If you're listening on your podcast platforms, then hello as well. And if you could rate and review, that always goes down a treat. We are reflecting on a 1-1 draw at Liverpool and looking ahead to Saturday's game at Manchester City. I was at Anfield the other night. Scott is going to be at the Etihad on Saturday. Regis Lebris did his pre-match Manchester City stuff post-match at Anfield on Wednesday. So we can have a chat about that. And I don't think you can pay Sunderland any greater compliment, really, Scott, than I came away from Anfield on Wednesday night thinking Sunderland will be disappointed with a draw. I mean, Lebris said that wasn't the case. He said the overriding emotion in the dressing room was pride, and there was absolute pride at how Sunderland performed. And I mean it as a compliment that you're coming away thinking they could, maybe even should have won that. I thought Sunderland were brilliant again, really, really good.
Well, how many times now since the start of the season have we said, if you'd said at the start of the season that, well, let's do it one more
Luke O'Nien would make his Premier League.
yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But if you said at the start of the season that Sunderland will be coming away from Anfield, like you say, slightly disappointed that they've only taken a point, then that probably says a lot about what on earth's going on at Liverpool, which, I think we do have to kind of touch on ever so slightly. But even more, it says about Sunderland, doesn't it? That, with every week that passes, it's just further confirmation as if we need it. We don't need it. Sunderland fans don't need it. I think some national observers maybe do still need it slightly. That this isn't a fluke. This isn't Sunderland of, somehow luckily ended up where they are because of happy schedules or anything like that. Sunderland are a top half of the Premier League team. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And that's what they played like on Wednesday night. I'm with you. I thought they were really, really good. Organised, as you would expect from Lebris, but tenacious, strong, committed, adventurous. All the things that we've kind of seen Sunderland be really, really good at this season. They took the game to Liverpool, but they did it in a really controlled, really sensible fashion. And for most of that game, I thought were the better team. Yes, Liverpool came on a bit in the second half. They had a lot more possession. They had a spell when they were pretty much camped in Sunderland's final third. But it wasn't like Robin Roos was making world-class save after world-class save, was it? And you always felt there was a chance that Sunderland could do something on the break. Obviously, in the way that it happened with Wilson Isidor right at the end there. Brilliant performance. Really, really good performance. Thoroughly deserving of a point. I'm with you, maybe deserving of more.
It's interesting you say there about how a performance like that, maybe like the neutral observer needs it. We don't need it. The fans need it. But I thought one interesting admission from Lebris post-match was he said maybe in the first half they didn't have as much belief. They didn't believe as much as they should have done in an attacking sense, and you could see them growing that in the second half. And I said to him, well, there'll be no shortage of belief going to Man City now, will they, on Saturday, on the back of that. But I thought that was quite an interesting admission from Lebris, because one thing this team has not lacked at all is belief, is confidence in any sort of game so far. So I thought that was interesting.
They didn't look like a team that was short of belief.
No, but it was the second half. I think it was the second half where I could see what you mean. Where the second half, they looked more of a threat. I mean, the first half, the closest it came was probably, Hume's shot. That was a shot from distance rather than a chance. In the second half, it felt like a goal was coming before Talby's hit. I thought Talby was good. I mean, we can go through a few players. The Isidor chance, let's talk about that, because I'd seen a bit of criticism for Isidor after the game. I think it's more brilliant work from Chiesa to get back and block it. And I think Alisson does really well to push Isidor wide. I agree with Lebris as well. Isidor has an awful lot of thinking time, didn't he? It's a hard chance. He gets the ball. he has to run half the length of the pitch in stoppage time at Anfield, the occasion as well. Clearly he'll be frustrated and disappointed he hasn't done better, but I don't think you can be too critical.
I think it's a lot harder chance than it looks on first kind of view. And I think, as you say, he's got an awful lot of ground that he has to cover. Alisson does well to stand him up. He probably doesn't get into the position he'd ideally like to be, Isidor. And that then really prevents him from probably being able to get the power on the shot he'd ideally want. But there's a few things. Like you say, one, he's had a lot of thinking time. Two, fair play to Chiesa, brilliant defensive run. I think if that's one where Isidor messes about with it and doesn't get a shot away.
Gets the ball stuck under his feet.
Yeah, you're saying, what on earth's he done there? Once he gets into that shooting position, his number one thing has to be just get a shot on target, and he's done that. Now, if Chiesa then makes a mess of it and it ends up in, you've scored the goal. I think it's really unfair to criticise Isidor for that. I think it's a much tougher chance than it looks, and I don't think he does an awful lot wrong. It's just Liverpool deal with it pretty well, really. I think that's really, really harsh to say. That he's let himself down there, or some of the things that I'd say. It's classic knee-jerk social reactions straight after it's happened, isn't it? I think now the dust settles a bit, I think, the vast majority of Sunderland fans will say, okay, didn't quite go for us there, let's move on kind of thing. But it's not a black mark against Isidor, it really isn't.
And here we go again. If you'd said at the start of the season that Trey Hume would be playing right wing at Anfield. I mean, when I saw the team, I think me, like everyone else, thought, well, he's gone back to a back three. Hume right wing back, Reinildo left wing back. It's just another example of Lebris being a master tactician, isn't it? A master tactician. First of all, seeing something like that. But then having the bravery to do it, to play like that, to change on the back of a win. And he's done it how many times? Not just this season, but last season as well. And once again, it worked.
I would have had Hume at right wing ahead of O'Nien at left wing. But no, absolutely. We saw it in the Chelsea game, didn't we? Where, rabbit out of a hat at Stamford Bridge, something none of us had really expected, none of us had really seen before from Lebris. And it absolutely worked a treat. And then, what it shows is, and it's not just the biggest games, every game that Lebris presides over, he has got a specifically tailored plan for that game, how he wants his side to play, how he wants them to set up. Now, what we've also seen is that he's brave enough and bold enough to change it within game if it's not working. He's quite happy to do that. But he's got a plan, and it's not just a defensive plan. I think that's the most important thing. That, yes, there are times when he does things to shore up Sunderland's defence. But I think in both the Chelsea game and the Liverpool game, what he's wanted to do is give Sunderland a foothold in midfield so that they can spring and actually ask problems, cause problems, ask questions of the opposition, as opposed to just, how do we stop Chelsea from playing? How do we stop Liverpool from playing? We've seen countless Sunderland teams in the past, not just Sunderland either, countless teams in the past go to Anfield, go to Stamford Bridge, go to the Etihad at the weekend, just string 5 men behind the ball, park the bus, let's see if we can hold out. Lebris might play with 5 at the back, but he's absolutely not just doing that. He's setting them up with a view to, yes, how can we make ourselves hard to break down? But just as importantly, how can we ask questions of this opposition? How can we give ourselves a numerical advantage in midfield? How can we turn the ball over quickly? How can we get it into the attacking positions that we want to get it into? That's all just as important.
You can go, like so many games this season, you can go through, can't you, and just purr about so many players. Ballard and Alderete, I thought were immense again. Xhaka, I mean, you just come away from every game thinking, was there a better player on the pitch than Granit Xhaka? Sadiki offers so much. I thought Lefebvre had a really, really good game. I thought he was really effective in the pockets. But I thought Reinildo was absolutely brilliant. And the best game I've seen him have for Sunderland this season. And I came away thinking, I think when we think of AFCON, you probably think of Diarra and Sadiki, you think of the wingers. I came away from that the other night thinking he is going to be a huge miss this month.
Yeah, he was really, really good. Really good, wasn't he? Primarily defensively, making tackles, sliding challenges.
But then that
just
burst down the
tight.
left when Gomez wipes him out.
Yeah.
He has no right to, I mean, how old is he? Is he 31, 32? Like, he has no right to get that ball. He's fine. When Reinildo signed, like, cards on the table now, when Reinildo signed, that was one of those signings in the summer where I'm thinking, is he going to have the stomach for a Premier League relegation fight? You know, is he going to want to go to Brighton a few days before Christmas? And they are completely wrong on my account. Yeah. But it's just one of those where you think, with someone who's achieved everything he has in his career, like, is he really going? How's he going to cope with losing 3 or 4 games on the bounce and going, well, that shows how wrong I was on Sunderland and Reinildo. I think he's been absolutely class. And yeah, I know
he's been a brilliant signing. Yeah, he's been a brilliant signing
now. Masuaku, Gatruda can play there, but he's going to be a miss, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and I agree. We're getting towards the real crunch time in terms of AFCON, aren't we? And I think you're right. I think the 2 biggest misses are going to be Reinildo and Sadiki. Because I think the worry with Sadiki is that however you replace him, you potentially have to change what Xhaka's been doing so brilliantly.
Yeah.
You potentially have to get Xhaka doing something different, whether it's playing as the only defensive midfielder, in which case he clearly has to change his game, or you ask a Dan Neil to sit or whatever, or you bring a Gatruda in. Either way, I think it changes what Xhaka's doing. So I think he's a big one. And then Reinildo, yeah, absolutely, because A, he's been so good, and B, until or unless we get Dennis Serkin back and see what kind of level he's at and where he's at, it feels a little bit like round peg in square hole that Sunderland are going to have to do something at left. But, it might be a Truder, might be Hume goes over. They've had to fiddle around in that position a little bit already this season, obviously when Reinildo had the suspension. But yeah, he is going to be a big miss. I'm with you. I thought him and Lafayette were the 2 standout players.
Let's talk O'Nien then.
Yeah.
I mean, what a story and what a moment.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of those classic kind of feel-good stories, isn't it? Listen, we don't know what role if Luke O'Nien's going to end up playing this season. There's probably a good chance that he's a bit of a fringe player who doesn't play an awful lot of football. But that will absolutely still not detract from the journey that he's been on with Sunderland and the fact that that's now, led to him making his Premier League debut at Anfield in a game that Sunderland have done so well in front of all of those travelling fans who were singing his name when he came on. What a story from, I always remember with Luke O'Nien, he's the player, isn't he, with that classic clip of the guy fixing the seats at the stadium when he doesn't know who he is. And that kind of summed up Luke O'Nien coming in, really, didn't it? From Wickham, nobody had really heard of him at a time when Sunderland, with the greatest one in the world, was signing a load of players from lower leagues that nobody really knew. And so many of those players have been and gone really quickly, played a part in Sunderland's journey. A number of them played a significant part in initially certainly getting them into the Championship. But in terms of, a thread that ties together this entire journey that Sunderland have been on since those days, it's probably O'Nien more than anyone else, isn't it? I know Dan Neil's the homegrown, but he obviously came in, or at least established himself a bit later in the day. It was really O'Nien who was there in the absolute dark days. I mean, He talks about his debut, doesn't he? And how poorly he played, and was he even capable of doing it at League One? And he's the one who's absolutely transformed himself in the same way that Sunderland as a club have been absolutely transformed.
And I think a few things. I always, and I mean this absolutely as a compliment, I always love players who absolutely get the max out of themselves, who look back at the end of their career and think, I couldn't have done much more there. And I think Luke O'Nien would admit himself, if someone had have said to him a decade ago, you'll be playing in the Premier League at Anfield, he'd have probably laughed. I mean, he said after the game on Wednesday, he did a brilliant interview with Matty Jones from Sunderland, a video interview on the pitch after the game. And he said when he went back into the dressing room, he had a text message from Gordon Bartlett, who was his non-league manager at Wealdstone, I think, when he was on
Wealdstone, yeah.
Yeah, and when he was on loan there. And that's just a reminder, not that one is needed for O'Nien or anyone else, of just how far he's come. At Sunderland, but then before that as well, he was playing for Wickham. He was on loan in the non-league. I don't even think they were playing National League at the time. I think it was Isthmian League or whatever it was then. But also from that interview, really, really good on the emotion of speaking to his wife and his kids on FaceTime afterwards. His mum and dad being in the stands and how he was desperate just to finish the interview so he can go and give his mum a hug. But then he talked about the importance of his role this season, and he said, I'm proud to be on the bench. I really want to get on, but this team is so good. The most important part of promotion last season was Simon Moore, and he played 4 games. He's my mentor this season. If I can be anything like him and help the team, I'll keep pushing the people who are all starting. Ballard, Lucha, Omar. I could go through them all. They've been sensational. I mean, what a thing to say. Talk about selfless. Like clearly he goes on to say, like, clearly I want to see more. I'm setting my sights on more appearances and learning from the players that are here. Maybe when I get to 50 Premier League appearances, maybe then I'll say I'm a Premier League player. Well, he's wrong there. He can say he's a Premier League player now.
Oh, he absolutely can. He absolutely can. I mean, I think they're lovely words, them, aren't they? They're lovely words. And it just reinforces the fact that actually a lot of what goes on in a football dressing room, fans don't see, we don't see. All those little dynamics, all those little things that make up a team are so important. Now, the only thing I will say is probably for Luke O'Nien, and I mean this with the greatest of respects, he's in a very different place in his career than, say, a Chris Rigg. Chris Rigg needs to be playing football at some point over the next 12 months, really, doesn't he? So if Chris Rigg's not getting a game for Sunderland, at some stage he will have a decision to make over his future. He just will. Luke O'Nien's in a slightly different position, isn't he? Luke O'Nien's not going to get a move to another Premier League club or the Bundesliga or whatever that's a Chris Rigg might. So, he is in a position where he can almost play that leadership role and not care about not playing, because that's wrong. He's a really driven guy. He's ultra professional. If he's sitting on the bench week after week after week, no matter what he says, it will sting a bit. But he's at a point in his career where he can understand the fact that actually his role off the pitch is probably even more important than his role on it, given the squad that Sunderland have put together and the number of new faces and all of that kind of stuff. It's different for some of the younger lads who are still trying to forge their career. But that's not to downplay the importance of a Luke O'Nien off the pitch, because I do think he's going to be massive. We've seen the leadership role that Xhaka plays, don't we? Well, in a different way, Luke O'Nien is probably going to be every bit as important, because he's got that Sunderland grounding, if you like. He knows where the club's been. He knows what the fans are about. He knows what the area is about. I think that's important. I think it's important at any club, but I think probably even more for a club up here in the northeast. You play for a club in London, you're in a world city, fans are scattered all over the place. Yeah. It just is different playing for a club like Sunderland in a one-club city, a one-club region, where, it just is everything about the place is centered on the football. Luke O'Nien gets that, and he'll make sure. And I'm not, I don't for 1 minute think that the players in the dressing room don't get it. But if they do need a reminding of it, Luke O'Nien will quite happily be passing that on.
He'll say himself, he'll admit himself that he's not one of Sunderland's greatest players. But is he a Sunderland great?
Oh yeah, I think he will be seen as it when he leaves. Yeah, because he's been on this journey. Because he's been on the journey, because he's been, front and center of so many of the big moments in the last decade or so, the trophy win, the Wembley appearances, the playoffs, the promotions, he's been involved in all of that. He's just one of these, like I say, he's developed this really strong relationship with the fans, the club, the region, everything around it. And I think ultimately, yes, there's a certain level of club legend who just does it because they are the best players in the club's history. They've scored the most goals. They've made the most appearances. They've won the most trophies, all of that. But then there's always a level of club legend that is club as much as legend, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And Luke O'Nien is absolutely that.
City, then you're there on Saturday.
Yes. Really looking forward to it.
On Tuesday, in his pre-match press conference, Tuesday? Was it Tuesday? I'm all over the days this week. Whenever his pre-match, the game was Wednesday, wasn't it? Labrisa's pre-match press conference, he said that he didn't want to show his players, too much of the opposition players because he said it might scare them. Well, you know, Sunderland aren't going to go to Man City for all. Erling Haaland is playing probably as well as he's played, and you know, Man City look like they're getting something like themselves again, doesn't it? After last year's struggles, Sunderland will obviously go to Man City well aware and respectful of the threat. They won't be scared, will they?
I think he could have showed them most of Liverpool this season, and it'd scare Liverpool more than it'd scare Sunderland.
You'd be laughing rather than fearful.
I was going to say, you'd be thinking, Liverpool are the champions, and Anfield's still Anfield and all of that. But it's undeniable that at the minute, Manchester City are a better team than Liverpool. They're playing better. They just look better. So I think it is a bigger test. That said, though, I mean, they've just let 4 goals in at Fulham in the week. So there are clearly vulnerabilities there. I don't think defensively Man City are anywhere near where Guardiola would still want them. They've always been an inferior team when Rodri's not playing. For all that Gonzalez might be hiding that gap a little bit, they're not as good when Rodri's not in the team. It's as simple as that. Yes, Haaland, incredible. Yes, Foden in the last month or so seems to have really got back onto it. But, you know, it's not even guaranteed Foden's going to start, given the way Guardiola rotates. They've got a Champions League game coming up in the week. You know, Doku, Cherki, really talented players. But other than Haaland, who is, an absolute freak of nature, for me, the best striker in world football at the minute. And I know you've got Mbappe. I know you've got, you've had your Messi, your Ronaldo. Haaland is a very different type. He is a striker. I think he's the best in the world. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But other than him, I don't think there's anything that should scare Sunderland. I really don't. I think Sunderland will cause problems to the Man City defence because A, most teams in the league do, and B, Sunderland have shown away from home they can cause problems for absolutely anyone. They've done it to Chelsea. They've done it to Liverpool. They can do it to City. Now, can they keep Haaland quiet? Can they keep Foden quiet? Can they be as controlled and as controlling as they were at Liverpool against City? That's a different question. City still keep the ball probably better than any other team in the Premier League. And so far this season, while there have been games where Sunderland have sat in a bit, as I've said, even at Chelsea and Liverpool, they haven't had to deal with 20% possession, 25% possession. Now, it might not be that on Saturday, but it might. And it'll be interesting to see, how Labrisa's Sunderland deal with that. That said, I still think they're set up as a counter-attacking team away from home. And that's the one thing that has been problematic for City, especially with no Rodri. Teams breaking on them, quickly playing through the lines and getting at a defence that you can definitely get at. So City start as favourites, thoroughly deserved favourites. I absolutely don't think it's out the question that Sunderland gets something. And I don't think it's out the question they win the game.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, I don't know if Sunderland will get a result at City on Saturday, but it wouldn't be at all a surprise if they did. A draw or a win. It wouldn't be a surprise at all, would it?
No, I completely agree with you. And that probably, again, going back to where we started, if you'd said that at the start of the season, that says it all about where Sunderland have got themselves to, that we're saying that. And I don't think that's just us with a Sunderland hat on. I think the general view of this game will be exactly that. Yes, City are favourites. Yes, City should win. But if Sunderland go there and win 2-1 or win 1-0, I wouldn't be absolutely flabbergasted. It's not the surprise that it would have looked like it would have been at the start of the season. Not at all.
One very important factor on Saturday, given what comes next.
Yeah.
Xhaka and Sadiki.
Yeah.
Labrisa Labrise was asked after the game on Wednesday whether there's any temptation, and it was kind of tongue-in-cheek, whether there's any temptation to leave them out on Saturday. Now, clearly there won't be, but you want them to play their normal game, but you definitely pull them to one side, don't you? I mean, Xhaka doesn't need telling. You definitely pull them to one side because it would be a disaster, wouldn't it, to have either?
It's one of those. It's one of those where realistically, I don't think you can do much about it. You've got to play them, and you can't say to them, play at 90% because that's just not it. What you can say is, I absolutely don't want you getting a yellow card for kicking the ball away or arguing at the referee or something utterly stupid like that. Yeah, fine. And maybe if Sadiki's made 2 or 3 fouls and the referee is quite clearly spelling out one more and he's going in the book, then you've got a decision to make. And that probably then comes down to the game situation. What's the game like? What's happening? Where are you at with it? But fundamentally, you've just got to tell them to go and play their game and desperately keep your fingers crossed because, I mean, losing Sadiki for the derby would be a huge blow. Losing Xhaka and everything that goes along with that for it would be a huge blow times 500. So really, really just hope it doesn't come to it. But I don't think you can actively look to guard against it because I just think that's counterproductive. And I think if you do leave them out, it just sends completely the wrong message there.
There's no way.
You can't do that for a Premier League game at Manchester City.
No. And you know, it's not like Sunderland are in Wolves' position where you're already getting to the point, say, where you may be thinking, well, you know, free hit and all that, as we said.
Yeah, and the other element to it, and you know, I don't want to downplay this derby in any way, shape, or form. I think it's going to be impossible to do so. But it's not like it's the FA Cup final, 1 game away, when maybe you would think, right, let's leave them. You know, it's a massive game. But Regis Labrise, in his pre-match press conference, will absolutely say, I fully understand the magnitude of the derby. I absolutely understand what it means to the fans. But as players and as the head coach, we have to see it as just any game. It's 3 points. We've got another game the weekend after. We've got Christmas coming up with 3 games in 7 days or whatever it is. You know, we can't get fixated on 1 game. As fans, as journalists, as everything that goes around it, we can and we will. But you know, from their point of view, like I say, it's not like it's the biggest game of the season, full stop, coming up next. It's not. There's going to be another derby in the second half of the season, all right, obviously down the road for Sunderland, but potentially could be even bigger depending on where the 2 teams are and what's on stake with it. You know, Sunderland might be in an FA Cup final come the end of the season. Well, that'll clearly be their biggest game of the season. They might be going away on to play on the last game of the season, needing a win to get into Europe. Who knows? You know what I mean? So it's massive, but it's not massive to the extent that you rip up everything else you're doing just for that 1 game yet.
Excellent. Well, as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, our latest subscription offer is running across the bottom of the screen there. It's just £6 for 6 months or £26, which will take you through to the end of 2026. And that gets you, among other benefits, full access to all of our Sunderland coverage. And we'll obviously see you through all of next week and all the build-up to the derby game and all the analysis and coverage from the game itself, as well as the game at Man City this weekend. Scott's there, so keep your eyes peeled on the Northern Echoes site, and we are Sunderland for full analysis from the Etihad, and we will be back next week with our next episode of We Are Sunderland. Take care.